Cranelife. I've had a request to do a video on how I got into crane driving, so that's what I'm doing now. It happened 2015, but if I go back further, I was a ground worker before that. I was a ground worker for probably about 15 years. So doing all sorts of work, doing patios, all sorts, literally all sorts, driveways, patios to the foundations and all the groundworks for big schools and stuff like that, footings and drainage and that. So there's a lot of physical work, a lot of hard work, but also drove machines as well. So I was driving dumpers, diggers, you know, rollers, that sort of stuff. So I'm used to machine driving. I was quite a good digger driver, but it was just hard work. It was hard graft, and the money was tight. And as the years went on, I just weren't feeling it. You know, it's not so bad in the summer. The camaraderie was great. I had a great time with the lads and that, but when it was getting cold and winter, oh, it's horrible. I can handle rain and I can handle cold, but I just hate them both together. So every winter it was getting worse and worse. And when you go in the morning, you're trying to shovel sand or ballast, but it's all frozen. So it's donk, or you're picking something up and it's all like frozen shovels and stuff like that, or wading around in footings that a foot deep of water, and you've gone in the morning, they've caved in because of the rain overnight, and you've got a building control coming in to inspect it before you can concrete, because concrete is booked in a couple of hours. But then you've got to pump all the water out, you've got to take all the dirt out that's caved in, and you've got to shore it up quickly, all that sort of stuff. So after a while I just thought, oh, I fucking had enough of this. And my back as well, all the paving I did, like the council slabs all around these schools, like hundreds and hundreds of metres of paving these slabs. It's actually absolute killer. So my body was taking a battering, and as I say, I was struggling. So, but the thing is, everything costs money, doesn't it? If you want a new trade, then it costs money, which I didn't have, and still haven't, to be fair. But my mate called me, he said, oh, I hadn't spoken to her, I said, I've just started with this crane firm, and funnily enough, I've done a lot of work around London. I've been looking up at these tower cranes thinking, I quite fancy doing that, you know. It's a job I'd like to do one day, but I'm not very good with heights. Well, I wasn't very good with heights, that's what I was thinking at the time. I'm not very good with heights, so I used to shit myself at heights. You know, I went up a cherry picker once. It was only a small one, but I had to go right vertical once with it, because I had to slew round. I didn't have enough space to slew round because I was against the wall, so I had to take it all the way up to spin all the way around. And it's only 6 meters high, but I was hanging on for dear life. Yeah, it was like squeaky bum time. So I didn't know if I'd be able to do this job or not. But I said to him, I said, mate, anyway, Phil, he said, yeah, it's an apprenticeship. I'm doing an apprenticeship. He hadn't actually started the job, and he was in the middle of an apprenticeship. He said, yeah, told me the interview process and stuff, and said what was involved. It's like a 3-month apprenticeship, or 3-month course basically. I said, all right. I said, how much you don't have to pay anything? And he said, no, you don't pay anything. And he was getting paid the same amount pretty much as I was getting paid to doing full-time work. So fucking hell, it's a no-brainer. He said, let me know how you get on with it then. If it's all right, then I'll apply. So in the end I did. So he was in the first cohort of apprentices for select tower cranes. So he was in the first group, so they did it in groups of 8 at the time. So I applied and I got into the third cohort, and they did them, I think they did them like every, I don't know, I think it's like 2 or 3 times a year they did it. So that's what I did. So I applied. So I sent my CV off, and I got a telephone. I was accepted for a telephone interview. That was the first stage, which I got through, and then I had to go through. I got through that, all right, passed that, and had to go through an official interview day. Set over 2 days, I think it was. It was split into 2 groups, one each day. and it was like, yeah, I think it was like 4 or 5 hours, something like, if I can remember rightly. It was over at one of our yards in St Neots. So we had to do like aptitude tests, teamwork, like a maths and an English test, and then a couple of other bits, like a dexterity test, like a mechanical thing. We had to build this thing, and then a proper formal interview. And throughout the process, they were walking around, like monitoring you, like whatever we was doing. They was walking around taking notes, monitoring us, and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that was that. So I got through that, and then I started in April 2015. I was actually officially started. So me and my brother, he actually started his own venture, sort of diverting him a little bit, but he left England to go to Australia to travel. He was supposed to go there for a year, but he ended up living there. He thought, I'm not coming back, so he's staying over there. So he's been over there 8 years now. He's got his residency. So we both started this new journey at the same time, the same week, which was a bit strange. So I did a week induction in Worksop up north, and then I started my actual training at Bircham Newton, the construction college there. So it was a 3-month thing where I lived there and I came home with a weekend. So 5 days a week I was there and I came home with a weekend. But the reason it was so long is because to get the funding, we had to do 10 categories. So it wasn't just tower cranes. So I had to do tower cranes. I'm trying to remember them all now. So I had to do tower cranes, crawler cranes, PEDOPs, pedestrian operated tower cranes. I had to do slinger signalling, traffic marshalling, dumper, IPAF, which is the cherry pickers, scissor lifts, that sort of stuff. What else did I do? I can't bloody remember now. Must have been more than that. Anyway, well, that's what I did. So the towers were 2 weeks, the crawlers was 2 weeks, so it sort of went on like that. And then you done your theory test with them there as well, and then they tested you for the practical there as well at the end of each block. It was great. The food was great. So the canteen was massive. You had 3 meals a day. So you went in for breakfast, loads of breakfast, and then you had lunchtime a proper meal, proper sort of full meal, and then pudding as well. Dinner time, proper full meal, pudding as well. So it's like, you know, filling your belly up all the time. So that was great, and we had a good bunch of people there as well. Good instructors. They was all great lads. Yeah, we did computing there as well with Jess. Yeah, she taught us computing, but the Honey Monster, Tony, forget all their names now, but yeah, it was a load of great ones, great people there, and the group I was in was good. So that was that. Yeah, it wasn't easy, it wasn't great because I've got a family at home. They were young at the time, my kids, so it wasn't great spending time away from them, but it wasn't a million miles away. It was 2.5 hour drive up to St Neots, but it was worth it. You know, I was earning doing that at the college. I was earning the same amount as I was before as a ground worker, and I wasn't breaking my back, and I wasn't getting split fingers from the cold that would never heal. I wasn't getting tight hamstrings. I wasn't getting back problems, and I wasn't constantly tired and falling asleep of an evening. It was great. So yeah, didn't do a great deal at the college. It was a little bit restricted there, so you can't really. I think it's changed now. You're not allowed food or drink in the rooms. They had like a sort of hotel across the road and a bar we could go in every now and again, but they restricted what you could order. So obviously it's not ideal going in pissed the next day. But it's massive. It's a massive academy, massive campus, I should say. Yeah, so I come out of there and I did 2 weeks in our yard on the towers, loading all the wagons up, loading and unloading the wagons, moving things around the yard. So obviously we've got all our cranes there, moving parts of the cranes around and taking cranes, loading cranes onto lorries to go out to jobs. There was two parts of the yard there. There's a main bit and another bit. So I think there was 2 saddle jibs and there's 2 saddle jibs, and there was a luffer. Oh, a luffer in the other yard and a saddle in the other yard. There's one on rails, so it moves along on rails. That was a bit weird. So I did 2 weeks there, and I did 2 weeks at Bourne Airfield, where there's a crawler crane. So I was on the crawlers for 2 weeks. Boring there, nothing to do, very little to do there, but it was all right. It was good. So come out of there, then go out on site. So what happens when you start with crane companies? They normally put you on the runaround for a little while. So you go job to job till you get a seat. But I had to shadow, so you had to shadow driver for a bit. So I think I did a week or 2 weeks at Guy's Hospital, shadowing some guys there, just standing. I think the first week I was just standing behind them, watching what they do and getting advice from that. I'd jump in the seat every now and again. So I did that, and then I think I got a seat. Can't remember now. Was I running around for a bit? I can't remember, but I got a seat eventually in Upper Thames Street, the demolition job. But once you got your ticket, your red card, so you come out of the training centre with what's called a red card, which is a trained operator card. Once you get, I think you have to get 300 hours to get your MVQ, to get your blue card, which is a competent operator card, and then you're good to go. So a lot of sites don't allow red cards on there, but luckily, because I went through the apprenticeship scheme, I was on a, sorry, I'll go back a bit. So I was on this Upper Thames Street job. It was really quiet. I was finishing at 4 o'clock every day. Great, lovely. Wasn't getting any overtime though, which I needed. Wasn't doing many lifts. I wasn't learning a lot. I was probably doing 4 or 5 lifts a day. So I said to the governor, look, have you got anything a bit juicy for me? Something for a bit more hours so I get some money and I can learn a bit. So eventually they sent me to Stratford, which I've done a lot of videos on, where I was at on the phase before, 2 phases before. So it was the IQL International Quarter. It kind of threw me in the deep end with that one, because that was very busy. It was a big job. I think there was 3 cranes, there was 5 of us, 5 drivers, 5 great lads. Well, obviously I'm a great lad, but 4 other great lads to learn from, and to learn their good and bad habits really. So I learned what not to do as well. I was on the busy crane as well, taking a lot of the deliveries and stuff like that. So I did my 300 hours there and more. So after a year, it took me a year to get my MVQ. It took them ages to book it in. That was with Lend-Lease. So Lend-Lease don't allow red cards on, but because it's through Select and through this apprenticeship scheme, we were allowed. But you're lucky to start with a lot of companies with a red card. Some agencies do, but a lot don't. So that was that. So they don't do these apprenticeships anymore. It's changed now. I don't know exactly how they do it now, but I think you have to pay for it. So they don't do the 10 weeks. They don't do all the different modules and different categories. I think you just do what you want to do. So you can just do towers, or you can just do slinging, or crawlers, or whatever. I know with HTC, they pay for it and then they take the money out of your wages each week. I don't know how it works with Select, because I haven't spoken to anyone about it. Should have found out really before I did this, but I can find out if anyone wants to know. If you let me know in the comments, I can find out. Yeah, so it's different. So they don't do it like that anymore, which is a shame. I think apprenticeships are good. They're the way forward really. So I wouldn't have been able to do this without it, unless they did pay for it and I paid them back. And then yeah, the rest is history really. Gained my experience there, and now what are we now? 2024. So 9 years later, I'm still doing it. Yeah, and I'm enjoying it. I like driving the cranes. I love driving the cranes actually. I just don't like all the stuff that goes with it. Politics that's involved. There can be really long days, some unsociable days. Lastminute.com, you could be ready to go home at 5 o'clock, be getting your gear on ready, and then they say, oh no, Jim, we need you to stay. We need you to stay till 7, do some concrete. So really, fuck's sake. And you're kind of obliged to do it. You have to do a reasonable amount of overtime. Contract to do a reasonable amount of overtime anyway a week. Weekends as well. That's kind of a given. Like Saturdays. Like Saturday now, I'm doing a Saturday morning shift to 1 o'clock. It's a bit quiet today though. It's not much to do. That's why I'm able to do this for you. But it's a good job to get into. I do recommend. Well, I think that when you're training, they should do that. So you should, if you want to do a crane driver, you should do slinging course as well. If you want to be a slinger, you should go up the crane and drive that as well, because it's good to know how each other work. A lot of slingers, they don't know how cranes work, so when they're giving you instructions, they don't really understand how it works. So a lot of the time they give the wrong instructions, and let's say they tell you to slew left, and then you're slewing left for, they don't tell you how far, they don't tell you, because they don't know that you've got to catch the swing at the end. They just say stop at the end and expect it just to stop dead like a handbrake, which doesn't. The block carries on swinging, and then you've got to try and catch it. Just simple stuff like that, you know. So it'll be good for each trade to sort of, each occupation to do the other, to learn how they work. I don't want to progress to become a supervisor or an AP, an appointed person. It's not really for me. I just like driving cranes. I like to be up here out of the way. I like to be in my little box, my little environment. I'm comfortable here, I'm happy. I don't want the pressure of being an AP. You know, I was a ganger as a ground worker. It was groundworks foreman, running some big jobs. It was stressful. Did my head in. I'd be, you know, waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, did I do this? Did I do that? Did I shore up that footing? Did I book the building inspector? Blah blah blah. You know, it's just like my mate, the one I contacted actually about the job. I've known him since I was play school, really. You know, he's waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, did I send that email? Did I do this? Did I do that? And it's not for me. There's a lot of responsibility being an AP. It all falls on you, really. You've got to do the whole lift plan. And all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's not for me. I don't know how long I'll be doing this for. Who knows? Don't know. But obviously I've got my website and this channel, which I need to be in the industry to be putting that content out there for credibility and for credibility and to get fresh information, really. So that's it. That is me. That's how I got into it. Yeah, if you fancy it, go for it. Why not? There's a lot of crane acts out there. There's a lot of people who love cranes. Go for it. It's a good job. And the only thing is, the only downside is, I say, the hours can be unsociable, and it's not great on your back. Sitting down in a seat for hours on end of the day, it's not great for your back. I've had a lot of I've had a lot of back problems, a lot of black problems. Yeah. I've had a lot of black problems as well in the past. Yeah, so that's it. So hope that was informative for you. Hope that answered your questions. If you've got any more questions, ask me in the comments. And guess what? Do us a favour, subscribe. Yeah, just hit that subscribe button to help me grow this channel. Stay safe, guys. Whatever you're doing out there, whoever you are, I'm proud of you, all of you. Laters.